More than 160 years of worshiping God, hearing His Word, and doing God's work at the cathedral site began with hard work. The cornerstone of the Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist was laid at the intersection of Superior and Erie Street, now East 9th Street, on October 22, 1848. Cleveland's first bishop was Amadeus Rapp. James Polk was President of the United States, and Lorenzo Kelsey was mayor of Cleveland. Land across the Cuyahoga to the west formed Ohio City, not yet a part of Cleveland. The California Gold Rush was beginning, and the Mexican War ending. At Christmas 1849, the first Mass was celebrated in a temporary chapel, the Chapel of the Nativity. The original cathedral was French ornamental or Gothic style, built with red brick. It was partially finished in 1852. In 1857, a school for boys was started in the temporary chapel. The school for girls was added 10 years later, just after the Civil War and the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. At that time, Cleveland and the cathedral were growing, but problems remained. Poverty and the red ink of the diocese forced Bishop Rapp to go on fundraising trips to France, New York City, and other parts of Ohio to help finance completion of the cathedral. He was only partially successful. Bishop Rapp served until 1870. His successor was Bishop Richard Gilmore. In 1876, with money still tight, the interior and exterior decoration of the cathedral was finished. The original spire was added in 1879. A gilt cross topped it, 240 feet above street level. In 1888, a new cathedral school was built with boys taught by the Brothers of Mary and girls by the Ursuline Sisters.
As more people came, the church began to provide education, to help them, not only with grammar schools, but then with high schools, and then to provide for higher education.
Bishop Gilmore oversaw explosive growth in the diocese until his death in 1891.
The church is one of its greatest witnesses in terms of the second great commandment is what they've done to reach out to children, to develop the talents God's given them so they can take care of themselves and their families and make a contribution to society.
Bishop Ignatius Portsmen led the cathedral through the turn of the century and the cathedral's Golden Jubilee celebration in 1902, commemorating the 50th anniversary of the completion of the cathedral. It featured parades and a renovation. Stained glass windows from Munich, Germany were added. They grace the cathedral to this day. Bishop Portsmen started the first cathedral choir in 1905. Strict to the protocol of the day, it was an all-male choir. In 1908, the Collinwood School fire killed 172, mostly children. Not long after, during a First Communion celebration at the cathedral, Bishop Portsmen suffered a slight heart attack. Knowing the city's children were already traumatized by news of the fire, Portsmen ignored his own pain and completed his sermon and the Mass, reassuring the shaken children. He died days later. Mayor Tom Johnson ordered all businesses to suspend activity at the time of the bishop's funeral Mass. The Industrial Revolution revolutionized Cleveland, and the cathedral grew throughout the tenure of Bishop John Farrelly, Cleveland's fourth bishop. In 1916, cathedral records show 1,250 souls counted among church membership. There were 6 Sunday morning masses celebrated on the hour. 89 were baptized that year, 140 received First Communion, and 166 were confirmed. By the early 1920s, the Cleveland Clinic, Cleveland Orchestra, and other cultural and arts organizations had found homes to the east of downtown. Thought was given to relocating the cathedral in Cleveland Heights or on land purchased at University Circle. The cathedral downtown was actually put up for sale. What had been a neighborhood had become a business crossroads. The plans were permanently shelved by Bishop Joseph Schrems, who became bishop in 1921. He sensed the need for the presence of Jesus, as taught by the Catholic Church, in the central city. Schrems proved to be a force in faith as well as fundraising. Bishop Schrems oversaw the redecoration of the cathedral and its crypt. The cathedral's spire had been struck by lightning and weakened. The cross and portions of the spire were removed. The crypt, located under the sanctuary, was redesigned to house both the remains of Cleveland's deceased bishops, as well as something new and unique to the Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist, a sacred artifact, the Relics of St. Christine. The remains are one of only 2 complete sets of martyrs' bones in America, and were given to Bishop Schrems by the Vatican in thanksgiving for fundraising for the church. A rededication was held on October 12, 1927. In 1929, the stock market crashed and the Great Depression began. By 1931, up to 500 men and women were fed each day at the Cathedral Parish House. Using food, cathedral priests had to pressure local businesses to donate. As America returned to work, the cathedral adapted. In 1935, the 7th National Eucharistic Congress saw tens of thousands of Catholics flood Cleveland's streets for a week-long celebration and reflection. Recognizing the downtown workers formed a major part of the congregation, a 12:10 weekday lunch hour Mass was added, along with a 2 a.m. Mass on Sunday for those in the printing trades and other Saturday night workers. The early morning Mass for trade workers continued until the 1970s. The lunchtime Mass continues today, nearly 80 years later. World War II brought new challenges. The cathedral fed thousands at its canteen. It provided food for the body and nourishment for the souls of servicemen and women away from home. Families of those serving abroad flooded the parish with devotions and prayer.
So it is a great pleasure for me today to come to you again and to express my thanks and gratitude, and to ask God's blessing upon the future as He has given it to us in the past.
Bishop Edward F. Hogan became bishop in 1945. With the end of World War II, more families with children were moving to ever-expanding suburban parishes. The cathedral school had served its purpose and was closed. The centennial of the original cathedral was approaching, and it too had served Cleveland well. Bishop Hogan decided that reconstruction would be the proper way to celebrate 100 years of faith and to lead the faithful into the next 100 years. He celebrated the last Mass at the cathedral on May 6, 1946. The rebuilt cathedral would keep the same lines as the original church, but be expanded to 1,500 seats and dramatically changed. It would take 30 months of back-breaking labor, financial sacrifice, and prayer to complete.
It is particularly fitting that the solemn ceremony of the dedication of your newly enlarged cathedral, the mother church of the diocese, should form the center, as it were, of your centenary celebration.
More on the Cleveland craftsmanship that created the wonderful house of worship we enjoy today. The cathedral, everybody's church, is ahead.